We got all cute today because it was hot seat day in my mastermind, and honestly it's like the highlight of my week, seeing the women inside. So I decided to get all cute, and then I figured because I'm already in a face of makeup, it could be also YouTube video filming day because I have been way behind in this, but that kind of ties into today's video, which is all about how I run my six-figure business in just 15 hours of focused work every single week. Now, I am a busy mom and I am running this business that I built prior to becoming a mom, so I get it when you are pulled in different directions all the time. Literally a story of my life. And now we don't have childcare, and I actually like it that way. I like to be able to hang out with my son most days, but I still really love my business and I love the work that I do. So I need to make it work for both parts of my life. And that's why I came up with this 15-hour work week schedule. It's just what works best for me and my family in the current season of life that we're in. Now, life hasn't always been like this. Like, I definitely worked a lot more before having my son. As a new freelancer, I was way overworked, doing overtime every single week, was often at my desk from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., maybe even a little later sometimes, just grinding. And then when we knew that we wanted to start a family, I knew that I wanted my business to be at a certain spot before then. So I really went all in on making sure that it was at that spot, setting up the process that I needed and raising my rates and just getting everything working really smoothly. So prior to getting pregnant, my business was running really well. I was running a six-figure business in just 4 work days every week. I took most Fridays off, really every single Friday, unless there was some like massive project or launch or something that we were working on. I had Fridays off and it was great. But again, everything needed to change after having my son, not only for my maternity leave, but for my return to work after that. This video isn't just to tell you my story, but to share with you some of the mindset shifts and perspective changes that I had throughout my journey of scaling back my work hours without sacrificing the business's growth. I'm also going to give you some more insight on what a typical day looks like for me right now, and hopefully this just inspires you to create the work-life integration that you want to. Because honestly, I say it all the time, but life is so much more than the hours that you put in at your desk, and you shouldn't have to wait until Friday or the weekend to really live your life. So hey, if you don't know me, I'm Jill Wise, a conversion copywriter, brand and marketing strategist, and business coach. And through both my Done For You studio and my education platform, I've worked with, coached, and taught literally hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you how to make good money online. And part of that includes coaching other copywriters, freelancers, and marketers inside my mastermind group. And inside that group, we dig into things like optimizing your offers and your rate structure and elevating your messaging and your branding to align with those higher rates, and then setting up systems and processes so that you can have the work-life integration that you want. So not only have I done this for myself, but I help others with it as well. And I kind of know a thing or two about balancing all of the things. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm also going to share with you a free resource that you can grab if you want to start designing that ideal work life right now. And not just design that ideal work life, but work less and still continue to grow your business, because I really do think that we can have it all. Okay, the first thing that I want to talk about is how I shifted my mindset around productivity specifically. Since becoming a mom and implementing my 15-hour work weeks, I am way more efficient now, and I truly know what it means to live and work by the idea that less is more. Before all of this, I made everything way too hard for myself. I did things that weren't necessary, weren't in my job description. I didn't delegate as well as I do now. I was missing so many things, and I thought that I had to just work more and push harder in order to get to this spot. It was totally not necessary, and it did not help my growth as a business owner. Since implementing these changes and starting to work a lot less, things honestly feel so much easier now. And I think it's because there's less on my mind, less things that I think that I have to do. I'm really clear on what my priorities are personally, what the business's priorities are, and what I delegate to the team versus what I do on my own. So we're not like being pulled in multiple different directions within my work. I'm already pulled in different directions between momming and working. I don't want to have that frazzled feeling when I'm logging in for my work day and not knowing what it is that we should be working on. So I got really clear on what actually needs to happen and all of the stuff that does not need to happen. And honestly, some of my biggest months revenue-wise in the business have felt like some of the easiest, because Instead of making it really hard, I realized that if I just focused and everyone was really clear on what they were doing, like, yes, we were busy, but it didn't need to be stressful or overwhelming or like an uphill battle all the time. And I know that this could sound like super annoying and maybe kind of woo-woo, and like I used to get super annoyed when I heard people talk about this kind of thing all the time, saying like, oh, it can be easy, whatever. But it honestly is. If you stop stressing about all of the little things and all the shit that doesn't matter, then it just like a weight lifts off of you, and then it makes it easier to focus on the big things, the big impactful things. I used to also get so annoyed at those people who would be like, you need to rest if you want to grow. And I was like, I don't have the luxury of resting. Like, who are you to say this to me? Now I get it. There is the whole idea of like diminishing returns, and the more that you push yourself, the less productive you're going to be, the less efficient you're going to be. Now I know that I cap out at like 3 or 4 hours of focus work in a single day. Often clients can book a single day reservation with me, and they're always capped at 4 hours, because beyond that point, I'm really not going to get much more done than I did in that first 4 hours. So understanding this about myself, understanding how I work and how focused I can get, it really makes all of the difference. And beyond that point, like, we are done for the day, at least from that like focused work time. This doesn't mean that I'm like totally logging off and just like not talking to anyone. I do still make myself available for my team. They know how to reach me when I'm not actually at my desk, and my clients as well, but it's just not in the same like high pressure way. So that leads me to going over a bit about what my typical day is like right now. So usually my work day is about 2 to 4 hours of focus work every single day. And then that is maxing out at about 15 hours for the week. So if I have a few days that are longer, like 4 hours back to back, then I might not do like work on one of those days of the week, or I'll work a little less. So it just kind of evens out over time. And while I do have like an ideal schedule of what I want to be doing, I also have to be super flexible, because as anyone else who is a parent knows, the babies are in charge of timing, not me. So I've structured my business to allow for that flexibility that I need in this current season. Beyond that, I know that I get my best work done in the mornings. So often I try to wake up before my baby and get some focused work done, or at least some me time in for the day before I get into work. And then that way too, I can get like an hour or two of focused work done before my husband starts working for the day. And by the time he clocks in, I'm on mom duty. And from that point, most of my work beyond that morning time happens usually around nap time. Okay, so now let's talk about how I got to here, because this could all sound like super fun and nice, and you're like, yeah, mindset, whatever, rest, okay. But I figured out what I needed to focus on, and I already mentioned this, just forgot about the rest. But what do you actually need to focus on, right? I can tell you that it is not making another lead magnet. It is not making another reel. There are so many things that distract us all the time, so much squirrel brain. You don't need to make a course. You don't need to make anything that you don't want to make. Stop making stuff, honestly. Once you have your foundations in place, and by foundations, I mean your sales pipeline, a solid marketing strategy, the processes you need, that is all. Too often I see people just like throwing in the towel when the first lead magnet doesn't work with the exact first try. And instead of tweaking that, optimizing that, they just like start from scratch every single time. This is true not just for like lead magnets, but for other things in your business. They're like, oh, whatever, I need to start all over. I need to change direction. I need to pivot. They just go off in a totally different direction instead of staying the course and seeing it through. Yes, you need to know when it is time to make changes and try something new, but I just think that people give up a little bit too soon, and they're not focusing on the right stuff. They're focusing on the flashy things. The way that I see it, the right stuff falls within a few key pillars, and these are what I guide a lot of my clients through, and definitely everyone inside the mastermind. And that is optimizing your offers and your rate structure, elevating your messaging to align with those higher rates and the experience that you provide, and then revisiting your processes and systems so you can start reclaiming space. Now within that, you have to decide what specific things you're going to be focusing on within those pillars, but anything else that falls outside of those doesn't really matter. And I also suggest doing it in that order, because for example, if your offers are all wrong and priced incorrectly, then you're not going to be able to create the space that you need in order to live too. So there is a specific process to it. But my biggest piece of advice with all of this, when you're trying to figure out what you need to prioritize, what you need to do, and how you're going to make this all work and balance work and life, especially if you only have a few hours in a day like I do, it is this. Do not overcomplicate things. In the beginning days of my business, and even in that like messy middle part, I would overcomplicate everything. And often the easiest path forward is a really good option. So that means you do not need to stay up all night stressing about something. If you are staying up all night stressing about getting work done, then maybe there's something wrong with your processes or your rates or the packages or just like how you're working or who you're working with. So instead of overcomplicating things and getting stuck in that overworked, underpaid, stressed out spot, I would love for you to start thinking about the root problems that are underneath these. Like, why is business like this for you? Why isn't it easy? And what can you do to change that for yourself? So I feel like this video was a little bit all over the place talking about my mindset shifts and the perspective changes and the pillars that you need to focus on if you want to start making changes too. But all of that work, doing all of that work in these areas has led me to here where I'm in this sweet spot and I feel like my business has really hit its stride and it wants to grow. And it continues on even though my hours are limited right now. And that feels really cool. Overall, the path forward for the business is super clear and most of my days feel fun. And I love it. And this is what I want for other people as well. Which leads me to that free resource that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. If you want to check it out, it is the 6-figure schedule. It walks you through literally my exact schedule, like the one that I'm following every single day, or at least trying to follow because flexibility. These are things that are actually pulled from the project management tool of my business. So you are really seeing like the exact things that are on my list. It also shows you my build, grow, and scale framework and explains the different things that you need to be focusing on at these different stages of your business's growth. So I will leave that linked below for you because honestly, it has helped so many people. Hundreds of people have downloaded this already and I get such positive feedback on it all the time. So I think that if you're watching this, if you watch all the way to the end here, this will be helpful for you as well. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out with me here and I will chat with you soon.